Alrighty, hey guys, thanks for joining us. This is Ronnie Reese, and we also have,
Mr. Randy Placencia.
yep. This is our doing something new here with a pre-recorded, just a meetup overview. So we did do this last Wednesday of each month in person. So if you're able to get here, we would definitely love it. But we wanted to make sure that we still provided you something. So just some formalities. Hey, Vicky is back. As the contact person of Cyria. So if you're not part of Cyria, which you're on this, you should be. Some information for that. So going to take about 15, 20 minutes here and then just kind of go through things. So yesterday, April hosts a meetup. We talked about talking with motivated sellers. So kind of how getting them through the sales funnel, kind of getting to some pain, and then just some things to kind of look out for. Just to kind of help you as you're talking with motivated sellers. Just a quick intro of our team here. A lot of people have been here a while. They know Brett, who's at the top left. He's the owner's box. We fired him. So now he's just owning and kind of just peeking in every fourth blue moon to see what's going on.
He tries to come in and mess things up here and there.
Yep. Next to him, we have Mr. Brian Snyder. I'm pretty sure you guys have seen him around on TV commercials. Our CEO does a great job, visionary. Who's that guy next to him? Looks like AC Slater. Who's that?
And he was in shape. I got to get back to there. That is me. I'm director of sales here at Simple Wholesaling. So I work with our acquisitions and dispositions team, make sure we're all running at all cylinders. And yeah, that's what I do.
Then next to him is Mrs. Anna Snyder. She is our operations just coordinator. She's the bones of the business, kind of gets everything nice and lined up for us. Really big on systems. Next down, we have myself, just an engagement director, Ronnie Reese. Next to me is Alicia Drake. If you're looking to buy a property, sell a financing term, should be a great person. We have Nigel, who does really good on video walkthrough, good with rapport, and also James Williams, as well as a home buying specialist here. Great people. So if you get in the room, come join us. You'll get a chance to meet some of these wonderful people. Just as far as contact information, if you got a deal, in Indianapolis or surrounding areas that you're looking, to get some insight on, I can act as your buyer, take a look at the property before you walk through some things as well. If you need a deal, Alicia Drake, her email contact is there. And then as far as coaching, business coaching, scale up, Brian, his contact information is here as well. Okay, so when we're going to get into it, perfect acquisition call. This is kind of an outline. These are just 8 steps to kind of help improve your rapport building and just setting things up for your seller and seller experience. So Randy, I'll let you take the first slide.
Yeah, so step 1, or I guess tip 1, would be setting the stage. So this is a pretty important part of any phone call, especially if you're doing, phone prospecting, talking to sellers. You want to set your stage on your intentions of the call and kind of where the call is going to go. With that, you want to listen to your tone, and you want to give a specific time frame. So example would be for a time frame like, hey, this call should only take about 10 minutes. I just got to get a couple bits of information from you about your property. And then from there, blah, 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 we'll get into more, but setting the stage, setting the time frame, and then moving on with the agenda for the conversation. I would say out of tone, time frame, and agenda, probably one of the most important things, especially within the first 2 minutes of the call, is probably your tone. Because you'll get all kinds of people that will answer the phone in all sorts of ways, right? If you get someone very hostile, you gotta be able to kind of diffuse that and bring them back to just having a normal conversation. And then a lot of that's with your tone. You got to have a calming tone, kind of, hey, I'm not here to bug you. And, just going through that, and then setting that time frame and agenda. Like I said, I think this part of the call, just the whole overall setting the stage, is where most people are missing the ball, because they're just getting people on the phone and they're saying, hey, I want to buy your house. And then it's just kind of like they're just really pushing through just because they're so eager to get a deal. I think if you come and set the stage and let people know first why you're calling, here's how this call should go. And basically, hey, if it fits, awesome. If we're not a good fit, that's fine too. We'll know after about 10 minutes and we'll go from there. That just goes a long way. And I just hear a lot of people skipping this and just trying to go right to the meat of the conversation where, you gotta just kind of treat them like everybody else. And like kind of like, hey, if someone called me out of the blue, I want to know first why they're calling and if it's going to be worth my time. So that's really kind of what I had on that.
Yep. And kind of to back up what Randy was saying, one of the things you have to ask yourself is, are you too hungry for a contract? Are you being super aggressive? How's your tone when you're doing that? Are you super jittery? Are you nervous? What the seller hears versus what you're saying. Are you talking too fast? Because I can be very guilty of talking too fast because I'm excited, about this opportunity. Again, letting the seller know how long the call is going to take. And then what's the real goal of the call? Randy touched on it, but the real goal of this first call is to figure out, are we a good fit? Does this line up what we need to be doing? And making sure that they also like you. That's the real goal of the call, to make sure that they like you.
Yeah, you don't want to get hung up on.
You definitely don't want that, right? And to dig a little bit deeper, as you're talking on the phone with them, you're also kind of vetting, hey, is this a motivated seller? Is this a tire kicker? Or is this someone that's, like Randy mentioned, just kind of a jerk? You want to know these things. As you're talking to them, do they have the right to sell the property? Because you don't know. Who's calling? You have no idea. Does their why in trying to talk with you, does it match our service in wholesale? Does it fit our box? Does it fit our service? Does it fit our capabilities? This is a retail lead. How do we do that? Just trying to figure out who I'm on the phone with. Does the property, does it fit your buy box? Okay. Is it in the area that makes sense for you, area that you're familiar with, or where you have a buyer's list? And then going down, does the price work for an end buyer? Where they're thinking, is there some room there? Or is someone just asking, $1 million for a house that only is worth about $56,000, in certain areas. So these are things that you need to kind of be aware of.
Yeah, that could be like that tire kicker, right? Where all day their house is worth maybe $100,000, and they're like, well, if you give me 500, I'll sell it. It's like, I'm probably not talking to the right person right now.
Yeah. So you want to make sure that you kind of identify who those people are and put them in the proper places. Okay. Randy, I'll let you take this one.
Yeah, so building rapport, another thing kind of initially within the first half of the call, it's really asking questions about them, their house, and then actively listening. So I think a big thing here, I was kind of pulled the big things out of these slides. I think the big thing here is the actively listening part. So a lot of people, I think when they are trying to build rapport, they understand, hey, that's about asking questions and just opening them up, finding some connection points, but then actively listening. So picking up on small things that you've heard, like if they mentioned their kids, kind of bringing that back up and saying, hey, I've got kids too. What age are theirs? Are there any similarities? I know Ronnie's good at picking up some stuff, kind of like what's going on in the background. Like if he hears a kid, like, hey, I see, it sounds like you got the little one with you today, and have them open up about their kids, or if they hear a dog, bring up their dog, and find anything that you can connect with, relate to them, and then talk about that. And then that just having those conversations, it makes them like you. And then the key to that is most people like to do business with people who they like.
Yep.
And I know I'm that way. If I just connect with someone like, hey, that person's like me, I trust them, right? Because the rapport's there. So yes, we want to ask them, we want to go through our points and ask them about their house to make sure we get the information we want. But in between those questions, when you're like, hey, how many beds, baths do you have, all that plain stuff, throw in something that's not just about the house. And then those conversations will actually, you'll get some more information about them without even asking, that you could, that's some information that you need to be able to make a good offer for them. So building rapport is huge there.
I agree. And just some tips in helping with that, as you're building a rapport and asking questions, asking the right questions are important. So, you want to try to avoid those, yes and no answer questions, but asking them springboard questions. What questions, how questions, when questions, and then use that time just to kind of be quiet and silent and let them story tell. For example, what type of repairs have you made in the last 2 years to the house? And get quiet to let them talk and tell what's going on. But ultimately, the goal of all of the questioning is to, let the seller feel supported, that they like you, and then again, gaining that trust that you care about them, their specific situation that happens to be tied to that property. Okay. The other thing is, so now that we've kind of gotten some information, we built some rapport. It's also important to kind of transition too, because the transitions will change. As you kind of get more friendly and jovial, but then also too there is a business voice. Steve Voss talks about the late night FM DJ voice, where you go from a high pitched kind of tone to now you're bringing it down, bringing the octave, slowing things down to make sure that we're getting into the nuts and bolts and the details of the important matters. So whether that's price or different things that they need that we're negotiating outside of whether it's an escrow agreement, or whatever it is, just something where we're getting out some nuts and bolts. That's when you want to change gears, slow pace. Don't go speeding down, but want to go up that hill kind of slow and steady, if that makes sense. So for that, here's an example. Well, Ms. Seller, I'm interested. It sounds like we're a good fit. This is the type of house that we buy all the time. Do you have 7 to 10 more minutes for me to ask you a few more questions? That kind of helps with that. And then again, what are you doing? Slowing down that pace. Okay. So, Randy, I'll let you take this one. Motivation.
Yeah, so the motivation, obviously, we want to know why they're selling. So this is one, again, that I think people, I don't want to say drop the ball, because I think everyone always asks, hey, for most of the time, I hear people ask, why are you selling? But they're not asking deep enough. So why they're selling, whatever they tell you, there's always a reason behind that, and maybe there's a couple of reasons behind that. So whatever they say, if they say, oh, I inherited the property, right? Oh, okay. Well, why would you want to sell a property that's been in the families for so long? You know what I mean? Because then that's going to open up something else, right? It needs work, whatever it is, but the basis behind that is asking why at least 2 or 3 times after they give you that answer, to open up the real motivation. Because then you can kind of anchor that back when you're making your offers and negotiating a price with your sellers.
Yep, 100% agree. And then, another example here is, and this is a question I use all the time, when people talk to me, well, I understand that, you call me, but what made you decide to contact us about selling the property? It's always a good question, and I ask this all the time just to see, what they say, because again, what they say initially and what they say when you ask again could be completely different now that they've started to like you, build rapport, and again, some trust. That guard might come down again. So kind of just a recheck. Okay. Randy, I'll let you take this one, the deal killers.
Deal killers. So that's asking and uncovering things or people that could kill a deal. So we want to make sure that before we even start talking about numbers, because you want to make sure at the end of the day, you're talking to the decision maker, right? So if you're not asking someone, hey, is there anyone else that's going to make a decision on selling this house? Do you have to run this by someone else before you're able to agree to doing business with me? A lot of times, I should say, like emphasize a lot, is that they're going to have to either talk to a spouse, a brother, a sister, a son, a daughter, cousin, a neighbor. They always have to talk to somebody. It's rare that we get someone on the phone the first time and they're like, nope, It's just me, good to go. They're always talking. Even when they say that, they're still talking to somebody else. So by throwing that out there, that will bring that up. And you want that to come up, because then it gives you the opportunity to say, oh, great. Well, I'd love to give them the respect of having them on this call as well. And we can kind of talk about this as a group. That way we're on the same page. Does that sound good? And that's helped Ronnie a lot. It's helped our team a lot to kind of get deals quicker than rather having to wait for them to talk to somebody. So some things that could kill a deal is having some conversations about, hey, do you owe anything on the house? Is there anything, if we bought your house today, is there anything that would need to be paid off for the sale to go through? Are there any liens? Are there any back taxes? How does that look? Is there a mortgage that needs to be paid? So those are things that could pop up that you want to be kind of more proactive on and have those conversations first before it gets all the way through title, and then it comes up and then we don't have a solution for it because we didn't talk about it.
Right.
Typically that leads to a dead deal. So those are just some examples of what could kill. And but you want to bring these up on the initial conversation.
For sure. And like Randy said, one of the examples of that, conversation piece that we use, understand that we agreed to a price, but would anyone be upset if you decided to sell without talking to them first?
Mm-hmm.
I got a bunch of stories about spouses and stuff that, we didn't know about until after we made the offer. But when you ask these questions, that helps get everything out front first.
Yep.
So, solution, we've done all the problem solving a little bit, so we got who decision makers are, now we're in the solution mode, because now we've walked the property or got pictures in some type of way. And then you're in that place where you're preparing to, to offer or present your offer, and it's always just kind of important when, presenting this that, you just be aware, because sometimes, if you're dealing with the right seller, hopefully you're close, but there are times just based on what's going on where you could be way off. And one of the things that I like to kind of do traditionally, or just by habit, is to always kind of just, be prepared to kind of go negative based on the fact that, again, percentages, we're going to be less than what the seller's needing. So, in the way I kind of soften that blow, it's just let them know, like, hey, look, Mr. Seller, thanks for, let me take the pictures, walk through the property. But, it looks like I'm going to likely be, less than what you're looking for, or the price you're initially thinking. However, this is what I can offer. And then just pivoting them. Again, if you listen to my voice tone, I'm not deep down and depressive. Still have an upbeat tenor to it, but still been able to present them like, hey, this is what's going on. And then also, too, with the solution, I go back to their why.
That's the whole point. So I don't want to cut you off, but
No,
that's the whole way to present an offer is here's the number, right? And sometimes they get shocked, right? We got to reel them back into, why did you decide to call me today, right? That's why that question is huge. Yep. Because when they start fussing about a low offer, they're a little hesitant, like, hey, this is not what I thought. It's more of, okay, I know that's not what you thought. Well, let's, I remember when you told me, you said, hey, today's the day because I'm in a bad situation. Mm-hmm. With this number, will that solve that problem? Well, yeah, it would, Ronnie. That's why I'm here. And then you can, revalidate that number. So Sorry to cut you off there.
No, that's fine. I'm saying? I appreciate that, because that's exactly what happened. We had a seller that happened in property in Martinsville. We made an offer. He said, you know what, this isn't going to work. But then I went back and said, okay, well, let's go back and you look at the numbers again. What are we really trying to achieve here? Why are we really trying to sell this property? And he went back and redid his numbers, came down to this, $7,000 without me having to do anything, just him doing his own homework. He's like, you know what, this does work. Yeah. Contract signed. So yeah. Those things happen. Those things can happen. You just have to be prepared and be solution focused. And again, kind of goes into negotiation, because it's all a negotiation, but the price that works for them, the terms that work best for you and them, trying to figure out that dance, because again, there's always going to be a gap that has to be made up somewhere, but it's just figuring out those things going back into that why, making those terms work for both you and them. Okay.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, and then, one tip in just for pulling prices, because sometimes sellers won't tell you that, even though they're on the phone to sell a property, they magically don't have a price. But, one of the things I do is I don't necessarily, I take focus off of their house and I just ask them about what's going on in the neighborhood. So, for example, do you have any idea what houses in your area are selling for? And I use that silence and see what they say. They're definitely more likely to not talk about themselves, but they'll begin to tell you everything going on in the neighborhood, to the rent, who sold it, all the type of stuff like that, because people know what's going on in their neighborhood. And
Especially now. Because
especially now.
all people are talking about now is, oh my, I got so much for my house and all that stuff. So
Yeah, that's
people,
all that's
sellers are more, I say educated loosely, but they're more aware of what's going on around their house now more than
yep,
ever because of the market we've had the past couple of years.
yep,
And a lot of the times they're just taking the highest price and saying, oh, my house is probably worth that. That's why I use the word educated loosely, but they're aware, which is good because that brings up better conversations when you're talking about price between them and us. So
yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely agree there. I definitely agree. So just something for you guys to be able to use. So, and then the last thing you're gonna do, Randy, I'll let you take this one.
Yeah. So last is the close, right? So we want to get everyone on board, agree to the terms, and let them know what the next steps are. So you've done your negotiation, you've laid out the terms, we've come to an agreement now. Next step is to, again, kind of what we talked about in the beginning, set the stage for, okay, we've got the agreement signed. Here's the next step. Here's how this is going to go. We're going to get this to the title company and they're going to run their title search. That's typically going to take, 5 to 7 days. Just depends on how, if anything comes back that needs to be addressed. From there, if everything looks good, we can go ahead and schedule closing. And then that's when you're going to go ahead and get your check. Do you have any questions? That's a very, very quick part. There's going to be, each deal is different. There's going to be different moving parts, but basically, however that transaction is going to go, you're going to want to set that stage and let them know what the next steps are. Last thing you want is to either get off the phone after agreeing to a deal or leaving an appointment after getting a signed contract with that seller not having a clear idea what's going on. That's going to cause them to have cold feet. If they have cold feet, they're going to call their friend. They're going to call their cousin. I just signed a contract. I don't really know what's going on right now. Did I make a good decision? Oh no, that's a scam. You know what I mean? Go call that guy back and cancel that contract right now. So you want to be clear on letting them know, here's how this process is going to work. Peace of mind, right? If someone's got peace of mind of knowing exactly what's going on with selling their house, right? Come on, they're not selling a bike. They're selling something for cash. It's going to be a lot of money to them. We want to make sure that everyone's on the same page. So that's a huge step there.
Mm-hmm. Yep, like you said, making sure that the seller can even repeat back to you, knowing what the process is. It just helps a lot, because I've dealt with sellers recently that they've bought a house before and they've never sold a house before. So, sometimes it's their first time doing it. They're just, I don't know. Just then working with title companies that have good communication skills and can walk sellers through, the processes and stuff, and explain HUDs and, all of these, warranties, stuff like that. All those things are very important, again, and how you're talking with them, but just not you, but also extension of you.
Yeah.
Okay.
One thing that we've heard a lot is that someone calls us and says, hey, I feel like this is going too fast.
Yeah.
And what we found was that we just didn't do a good job on setting the stage and saying what the next steps were. And that's the only reason why.
Yep. So just some and tips, just be prepared, but the biggest thing, I would say is just to practice your conversations, practice, setting the stage, practice writing scripts, practice your verbiage and talking and things like that, which for the in-person, next time we'll maybe be doing some script writing exercises as well as we're learning to talk to people. So we'll do part 2 of this next month. But just tracking that information as well, and knowing that, deals are going to be where in the follow-up. It's where they're going to be at. Definitely be at. So that is actually, what we have. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you, Randy, for joining me and here for this one. If you have any deals that you want to send or additional questions, you can send them there to my email, ronnie@simplequarters.com. All right. Well, guys, thank you so much, and we'll see you next month.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Randy Graham. Appreciate it, bro.
No problem.
A
Hopefully,
little bit
hopefully
longer.
that's good enough for Vicky.
It's gonna have to be. It's gonna have to
She don't have a choice.
You got a
So,
choice. All right, man. I'll let you go.
all right, see you, man.
Peace.